You're listening to the Youth Critic Podcast on KHZ Network. Find us on Facebook at Decibel UNG Radio and find us on Twitter at Decibel UNG. If you like this episode, please leave a like and comment on our iTunes page at KHZ Network. And now for the podcast.
"40 years ago, on Halloween night, Michael Myers murdered 3 people.
After that horrific night, he was sent back to the institution in captivity.
I have prayed every night that he would escape.
What the hell did you do that for?
So I can kill him.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Youth Critic Podcast. I am your host, Kel Smith. Joining me today is Andy Comer
How's it going?
and Gina Versa.
Hey, how are you?
Good. And today we are going to be talking about Halloween. So
2018, right?
yes, we are. I talked to on the show. I talked about the original, like pretty much all the movies except the Rob Zombie sequel because I was just so angry at Rob Zombie's movie that I didn't even get to see the sequel beforehand. So
Carpenter, yeah, John Carpenter did it too. So.
yeah, well, we'll get to it in just a second, but for those that are interested in my thoughts on the Halloween movies, I'll put a link into that podcast below because it was like a couple years ago, and there's been a lot of podcasts, like 100 podcasts ago since then. So look at the description. But for you guys, since you guys were not on the that podcast, what were your thoughts, starting with Eugene, on the Halloween series?
The Halloween series, so including like Rob Zombies and all that.
Yeah, well, yeah, all the different timelines.
Oh, geez. I haven't. There's some Halloweens I've actually just avoided. Like, I've only seen probably the first 2, and then the first 2 Rob Zombie films. So
You're missing out on life, Gene.
I know. So it's divulged a secret to you, but I've just kind of skipped on H2O and stuff like that. But I do love the 2 originals, and I like the Rob Zombie one when I saw it enough to not actively hate it. But I do love what I've seen from this series. And Myers is one of my personal preferences in slashers. I wouldn't mind getting stabbed by him.
You would take as an honor.
Yeah, I would take it as an honor.
Oh my. Okay. Andy.
Halloween is my definition of horror. I fucking love the entire series. They're like, I'm not saying that they're all good movies. I just love Michael Myers and I love the series. I know that there's been a lot of resurgence for Halloween 3. I did rewatch it a couple months ago. It does nothing for me. It's always hated it before, but like it does nothing for me. If people like it, I know that Diego likes it and stuff like that. But like,
I like it.
Yeah, if you guys like it, then you like it, whatever. But like,
Right.
I for me, the Halloween series is Michael Myers, so I don't even consider it part of the series. So like, if you like it as its own movie, that's great. You can enjoy it and watch it. I'm just gonna avoid it. I'm just gonna keep it out of I'm just gonna assume that it's not part of this because it honestly isn't. But the original Halloween is one of my top 10 favorite films of all time. Halloween 2 is a great follow-up. Rob Zombie's Halloween, because obviously I loved the original so much. When that came out, like it blew me away. As time has passed and I had watched it more time to rewatch. I'm gonna be watching that in the next couple days actually, because I've watched every other movie in the series in the last week except for the Rob Zombie ones. 4 is pretty, I don't know why, but like I think 4 is the most fun. Like if I'm just gonna put on a Halloween movie that I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy, it's 4 for me. I don't know why. But I remember when I was 10 years old, me and my buddy rented H2O when it came out. We loved it. It's obviously not like most of these movies start going downhill pretty quickly, but like I still just love the character of Michael Myers. And then the Christmas, yeah, that's so stupid, but so entertaining at the same time. Like, okay, like everyone talks about that and how he's but there's a scene earlier in the film where like Michael, it's like the most character, like to me, Resurrection doesn't even feel like a Halloween movie for most of the movie, except for very small segments. It's like they had no idea who the hell Michael Myers was. But this one scene where Michael does this thing throughout the series where he pretends to be other people, and like he either like just goes after them right away, or he a bit long, but that happens in Resurrection. That's my one of my favorite scenes in the entire series, where like Michael is coming up behind Busta Rhymes, who's dressed as Michael, and then Busta Rhymes turns around and starts yelling at him, telling him to go outside because he's gonna ruin it and all this stuff. And then Michael just listens to him and turns around and goes out back where he was just told someone else is, so that he can go kill them. And it's literally one of the funniest things, because like Busta Rhymes has no at a camera, but it's just funny. The only film that I've actively hated though is Rob Zombie's second film, which obviously I'm going to rewatch. I've only seen once, and that was in theater when it came out.
It's 10 years ago.
Yeah, almost. So I need to see that.
Yeah,
because it's getting to that brink point where quote unquote I haven't seen it. So I need to rewatch that soon, and that might let me see it or like it more. I don't know. We'll see though. But yeah, Halloween is my favorite horror franchise, and I love I've been watching these movies since I was little. So
yeah. So okay, I really like 1 and 2. I really like 1, and then I kind of admire 2 because 2, like I just admire how just so closely they got to the visual aesthetic of the first one, despite being shot like 3 years apart. Like it's insane to me how like it looks like they shot both Halloween and Halloween 2 back to back.
Yeah, it looks like they shot all them at the same time and then they just cut it in half.
Yeah, like that's like incredible. I mean, there's a few moments where it feels like a little like out of place, like Ben Tramer's just insane death scene. Where he gets run over by a cop car and then and then his body slams against another truck and then that truck explodes.
But that's like 80s horror.
Oh yeah. But beside the fact that I just admire 2 just for that reason, is it just feels like a complete like continuation rather than someone else's, rather than some other movie. And then obviously I like 3, particularly because I it feels like if it feels like a John Carpenter movie, but it's like a lost John Carpenter movie. You're right, Andy. It's not really a Halloween movie, or it's not like in the franchise sense a Halloween movie.
Yeah,
but it still is intense, scary, and or for me at least, the idea of a warlock making masks to turn kids' heads into bugs and snakes. That's kind of terrifying. And on top of that, there's a layer of that subtext of, you know, capitalism is eating everyone's brain, or eating the capitalistic culture is eating, you know, or consuming our children's minds, literally. So I kind of like what 3's doing, and then for me, 4 is like the last like really good Halloween movie, if that says anything. Because not only is it fun, but it actually does something different. It actually does the whole like, and I'm doing this in air quotes, the whole J.J. Abrams soft reboot way before J.J. Abrams was a thing. Because it clearly like Halloween 4 clearly like soft reboots the whole series, starts with a new central character, and then, you know, tries to end it in a way that other sequels could follow and become more interesting.
Yeah, but they had no interest in all in having Jamie take up the mantle,
which is so disappointing and kind of shocking anger, because
that was a perfect setup ending for going in that direction, and that's what the writer wanted, but the producer's like, no.
Yeah, it's just shock value for the producers.
Want to see something interesting? No, not really.
And I think that's why I hate 5 almost more than anything, because I'm like, you had a great setup, and then on top of that, you kill like one of the best characters in a way that character would never be in a situation that character would never be in. And also you stuck us with Tina, who, and all these other teenagers that are basically just there to die. It's almost like a parody of horror movies. But
yeah, 4 and 5 are really special because they develop characters that you actually care about in a slasher film. And then like they just, in 5 they just throw half them away, but like in 4 and 5 they actually made really good characters that you're like gonna care about, and then 6 they're just like, nah, screw it.
Yeah, even in 4, Loomis is actually a pretty interesting character because he's the survivor and he has so much remorse for everything that he's done with Michael. And in the fact that he has remorse that he couldn't save Michael or couldn't even finish Michael off, and that now he's going to kill more and more people. He has total remorse over that, and it makes that character all the more interesting, especially at the end of 4, when he realizes that he failed in stopping evil evil in general. So yeah, 5 just is I don't like 5, and then 6, like there are some good moments in 6, but it gets really, but that is the weirdest movie in the franchise. That is so weird where they took the franchise. But after 5, it's like, where else do you go?
Gene, for context, 6 is basically the Alien 3 of the Halloween franchise.
Oh, no, so I won't like it.
Where basically like it's the same idea. It's the same idea as the rest of the franchise, where like Michael Myers is Michael Myers, like in which, like, you know, Alien 3 has aliens in it, but like it's the most grotesque and darkest of the series. It's that way, yeah. And it also has a producer's cut that the fans consider better.
It's about the same.
Okay, I guess I probably won't like it then. Like,
it's completely like there's huge different, like, spoiler.
Yes,
one of the characters that is viciously murdered in the first like 10 minutes of the theatrical actually survives until about 15 minutes to the end of the film in the producers.
Yeah,
they're drastically different for multiple reasons, but yeah,
it's actually very similar to what they did later, what the Weinsteins did later to Halloween Resurrection. Yeah, so, and then H2O is fine. Like, it's great to see Jamie Lee Curtis back. It's cool. It's always great to see her. But honestly, it's like a watered down. I think Dan Doherty said this best. It's like a watered down Scream.
watered down story.
Yeah,
Dude, that movie's only 80 something minutes.
yeah,
It's
And-
fucking nuts.
yeah. And they actually offered the, directing to John Carpenter. He just turned it down. So at one point we were probably going to. It was considered, that John Carpenter would come back and do the 8th movie or the 7th movie in the series. Yeah, and then Halloween and Resurrection, like, it doesn't really feel like a Halloween movie. It's fun. It's pretty bad, but I don't know. I still hate 5 the most.
For me, Resurrection is the worst. It has it has decent ideas, but none of them are taken in a good direction.
Yeah, and then I only saw the first Rob Zombie movie, and I hated it, every minute of it. I mean, the first 15 minutes, Myers' family is a bunch of rednecks. His mom is a prostitute, and his sister is a slut. And every guy that every woman dates in this movie, all is like a Rob Zombie, is a diet Rob Zombie look-alike. So already I'm just like, okay, clearly you have no idea what made Michael Myers even scary. Like, the idea of Michael Myers is that he came from just a normal family, and he just had one night where he snapped. Like, that's totally terrifying, because he can come from anywhere.
Yeah, but he had to. I give him credit for doing his own thing, and not just doing the
Like
Psycho
doing
remake where it's like a shot-for-shot remake. He actually put a lot of effort and work into building the psyche of Michael as a child, and then showing us a quote-unquote plausible way that a child could snap and become something like this. And that's why I do really enjoy the film, because it, instead of doing like your typical remake where it hits all the same beats, the first half of the movie is all new, and then the second half has familiar beats that it hits, obviously, because the second half is a scrunched down or a smashed up version of the original, but it's just revamped. And Scout Taylor Compton's scream at the end of that film is the best like scream in the entire franchise, maybe in all of horror.
Yeah,
Better
it's
than
just
Twin Peaks.
I don't know. But yeah, and I didn't see the sequel. I heard what the story was, and I know how it ends, and I'm like, no, I'm good, thank you. I'm good. I don't need to know. This is way too pretentious. I mean, this already is screaming, grunge pretension, which I didn't even think I would ever say in the same sentence. But this just, I mean, it's just like a whole other layer of just what are you talking about, Rob Zombie? What are you doing? So yeah.
Talk to Diego about it, because he loves it.
He loves which one?
Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
I'm sure. Well, sure. I'm sure he does. Like, Diego sees the niceness in everything. Except Mother.
If it's hated on, Diego will love it. Dude, I love Mother, and that's probably why he hates it, because I love it for him. I absolutely love Mother. It has become one of my favorite things to just blindly show it to a friend without any explanation.
Jeez, that's a crazy thing to spring on someone. How are the reactions like?
Pretty good, actually. This one time, one of my buddies came over, and and we were just like sitting around just BSing, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna put this movie on. I was like, okay. And then like we were gonna go do something, so I had to go like shower and get ready. So he was just hanging out in the living room watching the movie, and I came out. He's like, what the hell are you making me watch? And I just started laughing for literally 20 minutes because it was so funny.
Yeah. Oh my god.
He really hates that movie. I when I saw it with him, don't know if I told anyone this. He like walked out of the theater, and it was just like, just walked out. I didn't like text or anything. He was like, I think it was the baby snap, and it was like I saw the rest of the movie because it's like, well, I paid for this. And like I was just like, oh, I don't know where he is. He's not in the movie theater.
Yeah, I was surprised. I don't know if I'll keep this in or not, but what's surprising is I told Diego he would love it. I thought he would love it. I thought this was totally like because Diego has a thing for mean movies, but I guess this was too mean. Too mean of a movie. But yeah, Diego, it's fine if you don't love Mother, but we're just having fun. Don't take it personally. But yeah. Yeah, I'm sure Diego loves Halloween too. It makes sense. But anyway, so now that kind of everyone knows our background on the Halloween franchise, 20 minutes later, what did you guys think of the new Halloween movie?
And did you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I went in to the movie like excited that Jamie Lee Curtis was coming back. Obviously, that's one of the worst things about Resurrection as well, is that in the first 10 minutes of the movie she's taken out. But this is I would say that this is a good, for like the combination of Halloween H2O, and Halloween 2018, which basically should have just been called H4O. Like I think that's going to be like a fun trilogy that myself probably only, but like I think some people might enjoy, where you see like, the events of one night in 1979 or 78, and then you have the option to look at the main survivor's like life like later on, like two very different ways that she has been dealing with and coping with what happened. And it's basically like her life split on that night, and then you have the option to see whatever one you want to it's a really unique and
It's like
cool
different
thing.
timelines.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It is different timelines, and I think that that's really unique and really cool that you can see her like life like literally split down the middle, and you can choose which one you want to go with. And that's the thing that I like about the franchise in general, is that it has multiple trilogies where you can do that. But this movie, I was super hyped for. One of the most anticipated movies of my year, and I saw it, and it's really good, but it wasn't, one of the best movies of the year, like best Halloween movie that I was hearing about and hoping for. So I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed walking out, but I had a good time, and thinking on it afterwards, and then the following couple days, I realized that I did like it more than I initially thought. And I just need to rewatch it again because, like when you're that hyped up for a movie, like sometimes you're like when things don't go as planned or things aren't working out as smoothly as you would hope for, you kind of analyze them, and then you miss certain things, how certain things are lining up because it's not going the way that you're anticipating, that kind of thing. Yeah. But the kills in this movie are, straight out of the original, like where they're not like vicious gore in your face. It's stuff like mostly happening off screen, and then you're seeing the aftermath, and you're like, holy shit, he is brutal as fuck still, even though it's been 40 years and he's 61 years old.
Yeah, he's technically, he's 61, right?
Yeah, because he was 21 in the original.
Right.
Yeah. So
and I'm so glad they brought back that original actor as well.
Exactly.
Who's apparently the director of The Last Starfighter.
Really? And Dennis the Menace.
Yeah, Dennis the Menace.
That's funny.
Such a pedigree.
My God, Michael Myers directed a Dennis the Menace movie. That makes total sense now.
That explains that that threatening hobo, kidnaps
played by Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
And I love that character in that movie.
Yeah. Oh,
they're
Nick
like
Castle.
trying to like be friends with him. That's funny.
Sorry, what were you saying?
But back to Halloween. No, you're good. Yeah, I liked all the cast. I'm super glad, obviously, that they didn't recast Laurie and Jamie Lee Curtis was excited to come back to this franchise. But it's a really interesting take for the most part. There's a few characters that like were just put there just to be put there, like the granddaughter's boyfriend. Like that whole plot line was stupid to me.
Yeah, I didn't care for it.
Like that could have just, yeah, it could have, like, you know, they might as well have made it more impactful and made him a good guy and like show that she's having a normal life and a happy life, and then he gets killed or something. Honestly, because of how douchey he was, he should have died anyway. But
right, he just disappears too.
yeah, like after the dance, like he literally throws her phone away in that food and she doesn't get it, so in the pudding, and then like you just never see him again. And then like the buddy that's like kind of like a little pansy, like just walking around like trying to like be nice to her, and then gets a little rapey, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Right.
And then he gets killed.
Yeah, he
but,
dies, but the boyfriend doesn't.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Let me put on the spoiler. I should have done this earlier, but let me put on the spoiler warning. Spoilers.
Yeah, but like that stuff doesn't work well for me. And there's a few instances of this, but like for the most part, everything is pretty streamlined and pretty fluid, and works out pretty well. And it feels tonally a lot like the original, and that's what I appreciate the most about it. And yeah, the my favorite kill would probably be the one where he walks around the house to get in, and then that girl looks out the window, just because that like felt like the most like the other kill, like the original, you know, where she's just like, oh yeah, I'll start locking up, and then all of a sudden he's already in the house. And I just thought that was really a really cool stylized kill, even though it's simplistic as hell. But yeah, the way that they wrap it up and everything, obviously leaving the door open, but you know, it could be the final thing, and it has so many hints towards the original sequel, Halloween 2, that I feel like it kind of just takes that over as well, because it probably knew that a lot of people would, you know, be kind of annoyed that the Halloween 2 was taken away, and some people don't even really understand what's going on here in the first place, so it kind of that helps with that a bit, I bet, too. But yeah, overall I would say I ended up giving it an 8 out of 10. People that have any interest in Michael Myers should definitely see it.
Okay, Gene?
So I really enjoyed it. There were some flaws that, I mean, I could overlook. You know, kind of looking back, the reshoots of the film kind of show a bit, because there were a lot of characters who I was interested in, like the cowboy, the cowboy sheriff dude just disappears, and I kind of wanted some payoff.
He just pops in and out whenever it's convenient.
Yeah, exactly. The boyfriend just kind of disappears. Would like to have seen some sort of resolution with that, I guess. But I think it outweighed, the experience of the film outweighed whatever negative aspects it might have had, certainly. Yeah. And it fulfilled every expectation I had for it. You know, just wanted to see Michael Myers kill again and have this kind of experience where I'm watching like a 70s, 80s slasher film. And I had that, so I was happy. And it's you know, I'm really glad how much it fits in with the original, where there's so much thematically similar, but it's also modernized and new, like just the kills and the aesthetic of it. How they portray Michael is it really fulfills that he's the embodiment of evil. And yeah, I'm really glad how Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael play off each other as Laurie. the moment where they're kind of they're having this cat and mouse, and then she has the I guess the shape theme. It's used on her, so like the table's turned. That was like one of my favorite moments when she disappears.
Mm-hmm.
That was great, and yeah, just everyone killed it. It made you care about these characters that were driving the film. I mean, the first like 45 minutes. It's not. I mean, there's a lot of definitely horror elements, but it's more of like a drama almost, where you pick up the pieces 40 years later and how it affected Laurie's life and how it like messed her up, how you deal with trauma, and that was very well written and interesting, and I have to give the movie a lot of credit for portraying that very accurately. So I was certainly very happy with it, and it's like neck and neck with the original. I'd say it's just like a little bit of a step down in terms of excellence, but for what for this franchise that essentially just kind of disappeared after the Rob Zombie Halloween 2, I'm glad it had this revival.
Yes. So I'm really glad that the Halloween franchise is back in full form. I mean, we already kind of know that the characters that kind of disappeared in the second act, they're basically confirmed to come back. Or David Gordon Green had more plans with them. That's why. But it kind of goes to my problem with the movie is, and I'll get to my positives in a second, but my biggest issue with the movie is all of it's primarily in the second act and how that all unfolds, because you're right, we basically have the Creighton Duke of the Halloween franchise. For those who don't know who Creighton Duke is, watch the Friday the 13th podcast from last year, particularly the Jason Lives portion of it. So we have that going on, and then we have the boyfriend with the Lonnie connection. So yeah, all that kind of went on to the wayside, but really my kind of thing was the whole Dr. Strahan character, Strahan.
Right. Yeah, definitely. That was dumb.
I liked it in theory, but it just didn't really have like the fact that he's like he's a evil Dr. Loomis, but then he just gets killed as well. It was really weak.
Well, it's my biggest issue with the idea of Dr. Strahan is, and really it's not just his character, but it's the scenes around his character. Like, I mean, they are full on Jurassic World in this movie, because the whole like metatextual idea of this Halloween is that everything's being kickstarted again because some outside media, independent directing media group, or in this movie they're called podcasters, but just go with me for a second.
Sure.
They're the ones that are kickstarting they're the ones kickstarting everything again, basically arousing Michael to, jump out and escape. And then of course you have Dr. Strahan, who has basically Lex Luthor, BVS Lex Luthor God Complex syndrome, who just wants to see two mythical figures fight, much like the audience does in this movie, or the audience for this movie does. So he literally is like the screenwriter, just like bringing the two together. It's like, I mean, this movie's script is the weakest part, because it literally is like, it's like being meta, but it's also making the same mistakes that it's also commenting on. So it's not enough that you're bringing it up that you're making this mistake, but you're actually taking the lazy route of basically having a character bring these two mythological forces in Laurie and Michael together.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't really like the Dr. Strahan character at all, and I don't like his purpose. And I think, and really the whole second act is kind of a bore. Like, maybe I'm just desanitized because I've seen so many horror movies, or because I've seen so many slasher movies. But I was just, a lot of the kills, I was like, okay, whatever. All right. Some guy's jaw got ripped off, but okay, that's fine. A kid got killed. Okay, that's new.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Okay. Someone killed a kid. That's cool.
well, not really, but
well, not in real life, but still, it's nice that a horror movie does this.
Right. I don't know, the second act when he escapes, it's I mean, certainly it's very second act syndrome-y, but I don't know, I was finding a lot of that interesting in how they show how much of a primal force Michael is. And more of the center of Michael in that second act, I think certainly carried it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look, I think it's but despite all the problems I have with the second act, the first act is really good.
Yes.
I mean, the way the movie opens, it's chilling and suspenseful. It's still a little bit, it's still way too like wink wink metatextual, but still it's like, it's really well done. And yeah, there's some exposition, like they're they're describing everything that's happened to Laurie through dialogue, but because Jamie Lee Curtis, you can see the pain on her face, or you can see the pain on Laurie's face. You feel what they're actually saying. You feel the weight of what the podcasters are telling us in exposition form. So the first act works really well, and then the last act is like a 5 out of 5 star third act. Like, everything about it is just so well done. It's creepy, it's scary. The ending with all of the like the different Strodes, Laurie, Karen, and Allison, all standing above the manifestation of evil and trapping him, and like, that's all perfect. Like, that is the perfect ending. And even better, like the ending of like her burning her house or burning her cage, where she stored up all of her trauma and is tried to work through it for 40 years, to see it burn and to see, Michael burn in it, it's a really good way to end that movie. I almost don't want a sequel because that's a good ending. Like, just burn Michael Myers, burn all that trauma, let it all die. But this movie made almost $80 million at the box office of a $10 million budget, so we're gonna get a sequel.
Yeah, it's pretty much guaranteed at this point.
Oh yeah.
I'm really interested though to see where they go from here, because
yes, yeah.
I mean, I kind of, you're not going to see Laurie every time. Like, Jamie Lee Curtis probably would do a couple of these, but like eventually her character's going to have to be killed off, or they're going to have to do him going after other people or doing something else. So it'd be interesting to see where they go.
Well, which is tough, which brings a tough, it brings a tough dilemma for Gordon Green and his writers, because if you kill Laurie, you're going to get compared to Halloween Resurrection. But if you let her go, what reason does Michael have for existing? What drives Michael?
That was the point of this movie in general, was to, bring him back to the shape status where he's just going after people and he's not going after Laurie for any reason.
Right. Well, that's why.
The reason that he ends up going after her is because she, like, they take her out to, or take him out, get him out to the sticks where, like, the closest house is her house. And, he wasn't specifically going after her granddaughter. It's just that he came across her and was going after, whoever he came across.
You bring up a good point, but remember, and this is why this movie's, this is a problem of the movie. When Dr. Strahan, starts bringing up Laurie Strode, you cut away to Michael waking up. So it's kind of hinted that, without Laurie, Michael wouldn't. So it's kind of hinted at.
No.
No.
When he started moving when he said Judith.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, when he said his sister's name Judith is when Michael started waking up in the back seat.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
okay.
and he's not related to Laurie, but like he remembers, and like that was one thing I liked about them using the quote unquote original mask. In that universe is the same mask, obviously, because they have the neck stab mark from when she stabbed him, with the knitting needle.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, in the side of the mask, you'll see like a hole. And then also when he didn't have the mask on, when she stabbed him in the eye, that's his left eye is scarred over and such.
Good eye.
Yeah, I like the details of that.
Yeah.
So Andy, you're saying he there wasn't a sort of connection to Laurie?
Well, that's what I thought. That's the way I interpreted the point of them saying that they're not brother and sister is that they're connected through fate, not family. And the only reason, like, he wasn't going around looking for her. He was just going around killing people because that's what he was doing in the original. It's just that the reason that she stands out is because she keeps living. It's almost like she obviously is like, Joker and Batman, like Laurie and Michael, like they're, one unstoppable force and an immovable object type of idea. And they just did it a little differently here where she's like fixated on him, and she knows that she needs to be the one that kills him for her own self, not, and so that he stops killing people, obviously, but like nobody else really believes what he is, so she is the one going after it.
That bugged me a little bit, where I wish the film would have defined that, I wouldn't say a set of circumstances or that brings them together, but I couldn't really determine if it's fate or if it's just chance, or if Michael's like actually looking for her. Yeah. Like going to the house that she originally lived in, I'm assuming. Or it's in the same neighborhood.
I mean that's possible. Maybe he was going back to that same neighborhood looking for her. But like they never said that flat out, in the way that they were talking about like separating them like family wise from, it seems like, the shape is like in an interview I remember reading about, the reason that they're going this way is because they don't find, like, the writers didn't find Michael scary anymore, because it's like, okay, well, I'm not in Michael's family, I'm not living in his house, so why is he a threat to me? So that's why they wanted to bring the quote unquote shape back, where he's just, going around killing everybody. He's not going after one target.
Yeah.
For these reasons.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it all makes sense in the grand scheme of it.
It does, but I would have appreciated some more clarification.
Yeah, and I would have appreciated a little more meat on the bones. I know everyone's kind of getting tired of the 2-hour horror movies. Especially now that the Conjuring movies are running almost at 2.5 hours. Or like the last one was like 2 hours and 14 or something.
What was it?
Yeah, and Suspiria is at 2.5 hours.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
But I don't know. I would have liked a little bit more time to develop the whole generational trauma more, because I think that's kind of the meat and bones of this Halloween story, is how generational trauma affects affects the people around you. Like this, trauma that Laurie has been building. Like, how does it affect Karen? How does it affect Allison? Like, and I would have liked to have seen more of that dynamic more and more organically into the movie, because I feel like that is just because I feel like the ending is really good as it is, but to kind of be like, but it doesn't feel as earned as it should.
Yeah.
I don't think
it just needed a bit more setup, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to obviously, tip your hand when you make a movie or make a horror movie, but I feel like it would have been much more stronger if we maintained the subjectivity of that generational trauma more.
Yeah.
So and that's really just more my negatives, but honestly the positives outweigh a lot of the negatives. So it's still a fun, adventurous movie, and it's gruesome. It's not as chaotically violent as The Predator.
It's a lot more competently edited.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. But it's still like very gruesome, very harsh. The score in this movie is terrific. But yeah. So very quickly, guys, do you guys want to take a little break and go to another segment?
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
The bus crashed.
Michael Myers escaped.
He'll return to Haddonfield, his home.
I need to protect my family.
You have no security system, Karen.
Mom, you need help.
Evil is real.
We're back on the Youth Critic podcast with Patrick Campbell. How are you, Patrick?
Hello, everyone. I'm in sunny Southern California once again, driving on my way to work. As you guys know, I like to podcast out of my car because it's the best time to do it, since the 405 is awful even on a Saturday.
Oh my gosh. And I just got out of traffic. There was a truck turned over on I-85 South. And yeah.
Yeah.
So
welcome to driving. It's the best.
Yes, it's awesome. It's awesome driving and doing podcasts with the internet while it looks like it's about to storm. So we might be doing this Inception style.
The future is a wonderful thing that I can sit in my car and actually talk about movies with people and record it at the same time, and then people will hear it later. We've got so much use for technology, and this is what I've decided to use it with, and I'm not even.
We could end world hunger. We could probably solve global warming, but no, we decided to talk about Halloween.
And that's fine.
All right. So, Patrick, starting with you, what did you think of Halloween, the new one?
I'm a big fan of David Gordon Green, and as many people may know, Halloween is by far my favorite horror franchise outside of Psycho. So I definitely had high expectations for what they were going to do to bring back Michael, especially with the idea that they were retconning everything from the series till this point to bring it back. And it's a really, really great film that I think easily is arguably the best sequel in the series. However, I do feel like maybe retconning the series entirety really kind of feels like the easy way out of what they are doing, especially considering Halloween at this point is now fractured beyond repair in the amount of timelines and different stories that have happened since the original. I mean, this is the fourth attempt essentially of trying something new with the story.
Fifth.
Well, I'm talking about strictly off of the Carpenter series. When you're talking about from the original, you have the Laurie storyline, the Loomis storyline, the stuff with her niece. Like, there's a lot happening in this world post 1978's Halloween. And while now trying to start fresh where nothing's happened between these 40 years, for me, I think that something's taken away a lot in the idea that Michael only happened to come around on Halloween 40 years ago. And one of the biggest problems with the movie is that while we're supposed to believe that everything that happened in the original is mostly like a happy accident that Michael goes after Laurie and her friends, if that's the case, there's really nothing that's binding them together, which doesn't make sense that he goes after Laurie again once he gets out. And I kind of think that without the sibling aspect that we've become accustomed to in this story, it plays against the film itself, because if there's nothing special about that bond and that relationship, there's no reason Michael should want to go after Laurie again 40 years later. Now, arguably at the same time, Laurie has decided to go after Michael because she's suffering from her own PTSD. But I do think that as strong as that story is, I think it's undermined by the fact that we're supposed to believe that they were more like ships passing through the night and we're not supposed to be bound by anything. Yet it feels like something of a cosmic force is forcing them together. So we never really get an answer to what that is, and it's just kind of muddled and confusing in a way in what they're trying to say versus what they're doing. But it doesn't stop the movie from being really, really great and one of the best slasher films we've had in a long time.
Well, here's the thing about Halloween, about that cosmic force you're talking about. It's not even a cosmic force. It's really just a bunch of fans of like this one event that happened, this one isolated incident that happened, that are now like, we got to get Laurie and we got to get Strode and Myers back for a round 2. And it's kind of it's kind of this weird Jurassic World-like representation of, like, or manifestation of the movie where it's like, or allegory of the movie where it's like, hey, it's this thing where, isn't it interesting that us, the fans, we want to see it, so we got it. We got this now new round 2 of Laurie fighting Michael again. Isn't it? So we have this. So I mean, that's really what the cosmic force is. It's really just a bunch of people that wanted to see this.
Well, I'm more talking about within the confines of the universe of the movie, not necessarily the fans. I'm talking about in the movie the idea that Michael and Laurie are clearly supposed to be bound together in one way or another, but the movie's trying so hard to say that's not the case while actively forcing them together again. And that's the problem for me. Not that it hurts the movie, but it undermines itself.
Right. Well, I mean, like I'm trying to say, the manifestation of the fans in this movie are the podcasters and Dr. Strahan.
Well, okay. If we're going to talk about that in that type of angle, I necessarily wouldn't say that the podcasters are fans. I think that they reopened the door to... There's always going to be those people who feel the need to stir up trouble when they don't need to. And they doing the true crime podcast in the vein of Making a Murder or whatever is fine. Yeah, both any of those like real life murder podcast show type things. I just think that in what they're trying to say versus what they're doing, while these people think that what happened was an accident and that there's no way that Michael's the embodiment of the boogeyman and all these things, they also just, it still doesn't play into why Michael would want to go back after Laurie. Sure, he's pure evil, but why, once he gets out, does he go straight for Laurie again? And maybe the answer is he just feels like there's unfinished business, but I never feel like that it's ever touched upon, and I just don't really quite understand it.
Right. Well, my theory is the reason why we're talking implicitly he goes to Haddonfield, right? Goes back to Haddonfield. My thing about Michael is he doesn't have to be necessarily tied to Laurie, but he's tied to Judith. He's tied to his family house. As you noticed in the first movie, the first place he goes after
is the cemetery again.
yes.
Sure, and so here's the thing. So because of that, that instinctively means that, again, at least in my opinion, that should make Laurie part of his family again. Because that would explain why he goes after her again, because for some reason he's tied to his family, right?
Right.
And so that's exactly why my mind wanders into, I know they were trying so hard to throw out everything, but even David Gordon Green is caught to the fact that he didn't want to let the Laurie Strode sibling thing go. I really enjoyed the movie, but I think the biggest problem is that it has this identity crisis where it wants to be the only sequel in the series, but it also so badly wants to be the most important sequel while also trying to do all the things the other sequels did. Because I couldn't help but notice that there's parts of the ending that are very reminiscent to Halloween 2, another movie that they decided to throw out.
Well,
And
yeah.
that's not, again, it's great that they're trying to do this and playing all these winks and nods to the other movies, but the problem is in a movie series where that doesn't where that stuff doesn't exist, you don't need the winks and nods. And so while it's cheeky and fun to be like, oh, that stuff about her being a sibling, that was never true, someone just made it up. I don't know. I kind of think that if I was Laurie, and I think that had you set it up in the fact that at least 1 and 2 had happened, I guess you could have ignored H2O. As much as I would have liked H2O to have still been a part of this story, I think that it should have been all of Laurie's stories till now. There's something inherently about the fact that it would have felt more interesting if this final battle had happened. It was like the first one was 1978, then 1998, then 2018, and this idea that Laurie has already dealt with this twice. And I feel like if at that point you also would have really felt like Laurie had really snapped from that. And I guess that my belief is that even with this PTSD and stuff that she has in the movie, that it almost would have been a little more believable for me had she gone through this more than once and felt the need to, upend her life and ruin her child's or her daughter's entire childhood and stuff. And it just feels like, again, the movie really tried super hard to not be a sequel to any of the other sequels, but inherently it kind of feels like it wants to be a sequel to the Laurie sequels.
Right. Well, you're right. It's wanting to have its cake and eat it too, in that kind of way.
Right.
And you're right. I mean, there are certain scenes. I mean, the whole. I guess we're into spoilers, or we'll go into spoilers from here on out. But the thing about this movie is that whole scene where the podcasters die. That scene is very reminiscent, like the location.
H2O.
Well, not just that, but it's very reminiscent of Halloween 4, where Michael gets his his welder uniform again, or auto mechanic uniform again.
Well, it's just like in H2O, he straight up goes into a bathroom and tries to attack the people inside. I mean, they are clearly trying to harken back to all these other movies, but the problem is those other movies didn't happen. So while it's kind of fun and cheeky and clever, it plays against everything they're trying to do, which is frustrating for me as a fan that wants to believe. Like, I really, really enjoyed this movie. But boy, does it try to do all the wrong things at the wrong times half the time. Because if you're trying to be the only sequel, then be the only sequel. Don't be cheeky and start making nods to the other things that happen, because it plays against what you're trying to do. And now I'm like, well, what if had it just been a sequel to H2O? Right? So it's just frustrating in a way that they felt the need to be cheeky while they could have just been straightforward and been like, this is our one movie. We're just going to pretend nothing else ever happened. We're not going to make nods to it. This is like our straight film. And this is where we think Laurie's life would have gone. And so I definitely agree that it's a movie that's doing a little too much and it wants to be too many different things at the same time. And I think that plays a part in everything that kind of bothers me about it. And I wonder if leaving some of the other stuff that had happened, parts of Halloween 2 and H2O, if it would have made it a better movie, because the stuff with the PTSD is not a new angle either. If you've seen H2O, she's dealing with PTSD in that movie as well. Obviously not nearly as extreme, but the paranoia especially, because it actually plays a part in what her broken relationship with her son in that movie as well, with Josh Hartnett. And I kind of wish that Hartnett was still part of this series, because it definitely feels like something that should have been here, especially with the broken relationship with her daughter. It feels a little much when we've already seen this happen once before, only for it to be like, no, you were right. Again, this movie feels like it's trying to do the same beats of other movies without really thinking about it. And I kind of wish that this movie was about Laurie and her son and granddaughter or whatever fighting against Michael this time, and not her having people in her life who don't believe her, you know?
Yeah, well,
Especially
I mean,
because I've
here's the
been here
thing.
before.
I think I 100% agree, but the problem is you would not have Judy Greer. So
I don't disagree, but maybe that's the problem. I love Judy Greer in the movie, but is Judy Greer necessary to the movie when we've had someone in her life who's already done this to her once before in a previous timeline? And see, and that's the whole thing, is now look how complicated this all sounds. Extra timelines, other characters that have been through these things before. And it's just kind of frustrating, because I really would have liked to have Hartnett come back. I understand why they didn't, but then you basically do the Hartnett storyline all over again, and it's just kind of bizarre to me. But I will say one thing I was a big fan of was the relationship that Laurie had with her granddaughter. I thought that was one of the better aspects in the movie, because the granddaughter, while not necessarily happy with what Laurie has become, definitely still wants to believe her at times. Even in the moments where she's like, you need to let it go and all these things, there's still this part of her that wants to believe her grandmother and stuff. And I really liked that. I thought that was nice.
Yeah, I thought that was great. But you can see that she's also having, reprimands too about her relationship. You can see that she's because she doesn't know. She just has no idea how awful it is. But she wants to also be like, no, she is family. We have no one else. Because that's the opinion we have, or that's what we get as the audience. There's nothing else we have. We have to make do with her, and look, you've tried, but we still have to keep trying to get her help. And on top of that, everyone knows that Michael is still alive. It's not like, that's the more frustrating thing. It's like, it's almost like just a tad too selfish.
Right. And that's part of my problem.
Yeah, and I think, maybe that's the whole idea of, it only being an isolated incident, because as mentioned in this movie, 4 people dying, in 2018 eyes through the lens of 2018, that's not like the worst thing ever. Like,
right.
But here's the other problem with only, having that being brought up. The podcasters are still like this. These English podcasters are still like, let's invest money and investigate the story.
Right. Again, there's just very, I don't know. It makes a lot of weird decisions that I don't necessarily agree with. Another one that I really don't understand the need for New Loomis. I think New Loomis's storyline is absurd for the most part. And as like cheeky as the turn he has is towards the end, it really fucking slows down the movie for no reason other than to do. And it just feels, and it's frustrating because the idea is great. I just movie.
Yeah, I think
I really hope that we get another Halloween. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't even like the idea of Dr. Strahan and what he's doing at all. Or it's not even like I don't agree with what he's doing. It's just, I think it's a terrible plot device. I think it feels like the screenwriters wrote themselves into a corner and was like, well, shit, how do we get Michael from, Haddonfield to Laurie's house?
Sure. Yeah.
That's, and then we have this BS explanation where he's just like, I've been just standing here so long, or just waiting so long for him to say something, just hoping something will happen. And I'm just like, dude, really?
Yeah, like I said, it just definitely felt like a step way too far that I was not a fan of.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like when he puts on the mask, I'm like, even at the theater, even when I saw this in the theater, I was like, oh my God, really? We're doing this? Whatever.
It is what it is. It happened, it's done, and again, I just think that there was a lot of things that the movie was trying to do that it went too far with or not far enough with. And at the end of the day, I just really wish that I really like the movie. Again, I think the performances are great. I love what it's trying to do. I just think the biggest problem is that the things it's trying to do just play against the stuff that they're trying to say at the same time. And so it just never really comes together fully as a movie because of it. And it's really frustrating and really kind of a bummer because it's so great to have all these characters and all these actors. But when you're trying to rehash the same stories that have already been done, but try to do it different, now you're running into a problem of, well, what's the point?
Yeah, and even now, I love the ending of this movie, but I'm like, where do you go that will satisfy everybody? Or that will even satisfy anyone?
And I don't know if there's any way to satisfy everyone, and we'll find out what happens, because it looks like Jamie Lee Curtis is probably going to come back for the sequel, and Danny McBride and David Gordon Green are already working on one, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and that's and look, I hope they come out with something great, and I hope they have a good idea. So, I mean, who knows? But that's just been my thing that I've been thinking about all week is how do you make a sequel out of that ending? Like, so, yeah. All right, so Patrick, do you have any more thoughts on Halloween before we move on?
Definitely go see it if you get a chance. It's a very, very good movie with very good intentions. It isn't the perfect home run sequel that a lot of fans wanted or hoped for, but it never had to be. It just had to be good in its own right, and I do think that it does that, even in when I think that it tries too hard to emulate parts of the sequels that we got. Go check it out. It's definitely worth it.
All right. Well, Patrick, where can the good people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Facebook at Patrick Campbell or PJ_Campbell. Find me on Collider at Schmoes Know.
There's a reason we're supposed to be afraid of the snake.
I've been preparing for this for a long time. It is not safe to be on the street tonight. Go home! Get out of here! Get inside! Michael! He's here.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Youth Critic Podcast. I am here with Erin.
Hi, guys.
And Alex.
Hello.
And so we're already in the midst of discussing Halloween. Starting with you, Erin, what did you think of the new Halloween movie?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was an excellent sequel to the first one, since that's, I believe, what they were going for. But I thought it was super fun. Had some really scary, creepy moments, and just had a lot of very visually pleasing shots. I really enjoyed the whole thing.
Alex?
I really enjoyed it too. I thought it really paid homage to more of the original Michael Myers that some of the other sequels to the franchise kind of missed in a sense. I really liked what they did with Jamie Lee Curtis's character. I thought that was a unique twist that none of the sequels had really done before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So for me, I really thought it was fun, but I thought there was some missteps. But I had a ball of fun, especially with Jamie Lee Curtis, and I really loved the idea of her trauma basically leeching on to her daughter and then ultimately her granddaughter. And I loved how that was significantly part of the film as Michael Myers comes, hunting back or back to his hunting grounds in Haddonfield, Illinois.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that was kind of my big thing. Is it was really good. There were some moments that were not quite great. As of right now,
what did you not like about the film, Kale?
Dr. Strahan?
Yes.
yeah, his character was really bizarre. I don't think any of us saw that coming. Or
No.
just really weird.
Well, everything around him is just so misplaced. Like everyone, like the whole like reference of he's the new Loomis. It's like it's so laughable. Like it's so because it's just like, but is he though? We've only seen him for 2 minutes. Like and on top of that, like he's been terrible at everything so far.
Yeah, he was I think the bizarre thing was it almost seemed like he was like a patient that had escaped himself and had just been like right. parading around as this so-called doctor. I mean, like honestly, one of the most bizarre things is I cannot imagine a doctor letting you walk up to a serial killer and hold up like, their like mask that they wore, or like I could not see a doctor letting somebody do that. So that whole beginning part was really bizarre, but I guess it's all stemmed from him just being fascinated with Michael and almost wanting to be him, like almost wanting to be like a copycat, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I think it stems from obsession, which it works. I'm sure it worked on the page. I'm sure the idea of someone going mad trying to study Michael, could be something, great on the page, but for whatever reason here it comes off as a pervy fanboy.
That's a good way to put it.
Yes. He felt, I think out of anybody in the movie, he felt the most like out of place,
Right.
He almost felt like I don't know exactly why they didn't just have a regular doctor that let them go in, or like I said, it didn't really make sense, I guess, to have it didn't really make sense to have a doctor like that unless they were just going for the scare factor of like giving that girl some hope that she's been rescued from Michael and then putting her back into like Fear's arms when he brings his body and puts it in the back of the cop car with her.
Yeah, and he just kind of abruptly turns too. Like it seemed kind of forced.
Yeah, really bizarre change in his character.
Yeah, I mean, he went from I have to be with Michael, I have to make damn sure that he makes it to whatever the new hospital is he's being taken to now I am Michael's BFF.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, just really bizarre.
I'm Michael's Harley Quinn.
More another complaint I had actually as far as the speaking of him being transferred and everything, I kind of wish they would have shown what exactly happened with the bus and then the bus ride. And like, I feel like they didn't really, it just kind of cut to the bus being already derailed off the road. And
Yeah, we were
kind of madness.
actually we were talking about after the movie. We almost would have enjoyed seeing if Jamie Lee Curtis's character had somehow derailed the bus with her being paranoid and crazy and trying to kill him, and then ends up letting him loose.
Yeah, and actually, I have talked to a couple people, and they thought that's what this movie was leading to, is that she was letting him go, or she'd basically done the whole, like, you guys remember the scene in Super 8 where the guy runs the truck on the road and he derails the train
Yes.
to let the alien go?
Yes.
That's what everyone kind of was assuming that had happened, is that that Laurie, because we didn't see her after the bus leaves. We only see her when she pops back up at the restaurant like hours later.
Well, you saw her in her car and she was like crying.
Right.
She kind of came to that realization that she was like, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I'm not as strong as I thought. And you're just like, this is kind of sad, you know?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like one of those that, like, I guess like you don't really know, did the doctor help derail the bus, or was it Jamie Lee Curtis, or was it just Michael being Michael, you know?
I think the implication is Dr. Strahan had something to do with it.
Right.
He just, like, initially when he was telling everyone what had happened, just so he could get to Michael, that he, said Michael broke the chains or whatever the dialogue was in that moment.
Right.
But because at that point it would have been a little too silly that, at this point. But then again, Michael's only broken out in this like timeline only once. So whereas almost every other time this franchise has been rebooted, he's broken out like of the hospital.
Right. Yeah. No, and it was I don't know, we were talking about too, that we went and saw it with some friends, and we were kind of waiting to see if they were going to say like Michael had any supernatural strength or anything, but it's almost like that at the end of the movie they were just kind of like, no, he's just a regular person. So that was something we were kind of waiting to see, especially at the beginning where he's holding out that mask and all the other prisoners are getting upset and the dogs are barking, and it literally seems like there's some force within him greater than himself, you know?
Right, some kind of evil.
Yeah, something that's actually truly evil inside of him. But it was like they never really went there with it either. At the same time, though, I mean, like, I know he's a big guy, but I mean, ripping people's jaws off and,
Took a bullet at one point, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he takes a bullet at one point, and he kind of like keeps going. He's like, no big deal,
Yeah.
I don't know, just a lot of stuff like that.
Well, the way I kind of perceive Michael is he is the living embodiment of evil, and he's kind of like a force of nature. And so that kind of, it doesn't give him unlimited, he doesn't become Superman because of this, but it gives him more durability, if that makes any sense.
I guess maybe almost the ability to neglect his pain.
Yeah, I could see that. Like,
right.
Him more ignoring pain than necessarily being immune to it.
Because it is implied that because Loomis shot him so many times in the movie, that's how like they were able to get him, because it was eventually wearing the bullets being in him was wearing down on him, the injuries.
Right.
So that's kind of my theory, is that of how they caught Michael the first time, is that everything was just kind of succumbing and everyone just got lucky.
Right.
And now that he's fully healed and 40 years later, he's, built his strength back up, as mentioned by Dr. Strahan, he regularly exercise. He has a normal diet. So
he would be good to go around and start killing teenagers and ladies in their kitchens. And
I thought it was, he found that mask awfully fast.
Yeah, he did find that awfully fast.
It almost implied that it kind of had this kind of yearning to be back on his head almost, though, or
Yeah, like once he saw the
When it
mask, it was like
close
they
to
got.
him, yeah, but he found those reporters really quick.
Yeah, they kind of never explained that because I mean, it's like of all the gas stations you would stop at, you know?
Yeah, that was like he got really lucky.
Yeah, it's like Michael, you didn't see their car.
Yeah.
Plot holes.
Again,
The imagination.
well, again, Michael is a living embodiment of evil, and he's kind of surrounded by, the powers to be that are evil.
Right.
Doesn't
I mean,
quite
overall,
quite
it's still really fun.
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah. Oh,
some of the shots in the movie were great. Like one of my favorites had to have been when they just had the camera fixed on the front of the house, and then Michael's in the front door, and then she comes to the front door to look and see what's out there, and he goes around back slowly, and it just like shows him breaking in through the back, all in one shot. It's just great. He comes up behind her.
I still love one of my favorite scenes is still the lady that she's like walking around her house, and she has that window open, and she finally goes to lower down those blinds, but you can see Michael's white face in the mirror or like in the reflection, but really nothing else, you know? I was like, oh, it's so creepy. I love it.
Oh yeah. I just love that whole like section because you start with the kids and you just witnessed a kid being murdered. And you're just like, oh no, but Michael's not even paying attention to them. He's just looking for he's looking for a weapon. So he goes down the fluorescent lights to the warehouse to get the hammer, and he goes into, and then he goes through the house to kill the old lady.
Getting his butcher knife, yeah.
It's almost like
butcher knife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that was what was fantastic though. Is I mean, you're watching him walk around, and I mean, just very like, almost like easily just walk around and go get his stuff that he needs. Like he's like, oh, just gotta pop by this gas station, kill everyone here, get my mask. All right, now we're moving on. Got my hammer. He's
very
like,
systematic.
Yeah. He's like, oh, is that a butcher knife you're holding, ma'am? I don't mind if I take that. Oh, time to go kill a pretty babysitter.
Just unstoppable force, just kind of coming through the neighborhood.
Yeah, unstoppable is a very good word. Oh god.
And that's the other thing, and I think that's the big thing that kind of got lost here is that babysitter subplot, because it really works. Like you feel for the characters there, but it kind of gets lost.
Yeah, no, I think
I love the kid, even though it kind of like made it feel a little cheesier.
Yeah, the kid was really, really funny. No, we were actually talking about it. We all felt real bad that she died because we were like, she was just like a nice, cool person. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, she was talking about her friends coming over and smoking weed later, and like, yeah, she was probably gonna sleep with her boyfriend, which she never got to do. So it's kind of like, is this breaking the rules of horror? Because she didn't get to drink from the devil's cup before she died. She just kept doing her babysitter duties.
I think that's kind of that's kind of the big point of the movie is it's throwing out a lot of tropes. It's still playing with tropes, but it's like, no, like people can die. Like people can just die even though they did nothing wrong.
Yeah, they didn't necessarily deserve it.
Yeah, like definitely, because I mean, you know, the lady in the kitchen, like she did nothing wrong. I think too, Judy Greer's husband. Judy Greer's husband, he did really nothing wrong. I mean, hey, the slightly overweight kid that tried to kiss the girl. I mean,
got a little rapey.
Yeah, it's like, was he that bad of a dude? Because he was like, sorry, I misread signs. I'm gonna go now. You know, it's like, like, was he that terrible?
That's the weirdest part about that scene is it feels so like crammed in because they wanted you to feel terrible for this person, or they wanted you to like not feel so bad. Sorry, they wanted you not to feel so bad. But I'm like, where did that come from? That didn't come out of that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that was really bizarre. I mean, I kind of thought when he was like, hey, let me walk you home, I was like, oh, he may try and hit on her, he might try and kiss her or something like that. But they did make him more forceful, I think, than like they had to for some reason. I guess like to try and bring on that, like, well, maybe he would have grown up and been a rapist guy. So
I still feel bad.
Yeah.
I know, but that's the thing. That was like, he really still didn't do anything, wrong. I mean, he was just he tried to seize his moment there, and obviously it didn't work out. And he was like, "Well, I'm gonna go now," and then Michael kills them. So it's like, all right.
His death scene is really cool though, with the motion sensor lights.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like it goes off, and then Michael moves, and he's in a different spot.
Michael definitely got some tips from Diane from Lights Out.
Oh yeah, they probably hung out at the same mental institution.
Yeah.
This grow's just filled with like supernatural characters.
Yeah. I would just love one movie where somebody goes to a mental institution. It's just got like all of them, like Freddy Krueger, Michael, like
Jason.
All Jason's there. And it's like, the doctors are all just like, we have no clue why these people are able to still be alive. Like,
yeah.
Be like, trust me, we've tried the electric chair. It did not work.
We tried everything. Even a bowl of acid didn't work.
Yeah. They're like, we shot him in the head like 3 times, and they just kind of turned and came after us with a knife that we don't even know where they got it.
They just got it. We checked for weapons.
Yeah. It's like, what happened?
It's like you made a knife out of thin air.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I really do. And I love this. I love the score a lot. I love the tension in it. It's a fun movie. Like, I've seen this movie. I saw this movie in an early screening, and then I saw it again in Dolby. And I don't know. It's just a fun movie to go watch for Halloween. I think that's why it's number 2, or number 1 this, second weekend in a row.
Yeah,
definitely gets you in the mood. I love the a lot of the shots of the just trick-or-treating children, like, really puts you there in the setting. And
yeah, just like actual Halloween. Like, the Halloween dance was fun, seeing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the Halloween dance, we also joked about this after the movie. That ex-boyfriend guy threw her phone in the tapioca or pudding or whatever it was.
I thought it was queso.
Was it queso? I have no clue.
I thought it was pudding.
Yeah, so threw it in, like, I'm gonna call it pudding.
Okay, fine. I'm outnumbered.
Yes, it's 2 puddings to 1 queso.
2 puddings to 1.
No. But yeah, threw it in the pudding. Her phone is still ringing, and she doesn't even try and save it. She's just like, it's covered in pudding. I'm leaving. Like, which also, why would you be such a dick that you would throw someone's phone in pudding?
And then expect her to not be angry or break up with you? Or...
Yeah.
I will say, though.
He's so bold to make out with somebody at a party that your girlfriend's at.
I will say, though, he does have that moment when after he throws the phone, like, I should not have done that.
Yeah, he does have a slight moment of regret.
It's almost like he just doubles down, though, after he gets caught making out with that girl.
Yeah. Like, he's like, I know what it looked like, but we were just talking.
And it just happened.
Yeah, it's like, well, all right.
Studio phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah, but he's still around. We didn't see him get killed, so
that was one of the most surprising people. I thought surely Michael's gonna get this kid, you know what I mean? But nope, his friend that's just trying to, like, kiss his newly single girlfriend, like, he gets killed though.
Yeah.
That was like the most bizarre thing. Is I thought surely this guy's gonna try and, like, run after her and, like, yell at her or something like that, or harass her on the way home or something, and then Michael's gonna kill him.
Yeah, and yeah, that's all. I mean, that's all there is to say about the boyfriend. He'll be back for the sequel.
Yeah,
hopefully. Speaking of which, do you guys think there is gonna be a sequel to this?
Oh yes. It's made It's made $120 million so far on a $10 million budget.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing is, in a way, I don't want them to do a sequel because I felt like it was a good ending. You guys could just leave it here.
Kind of wrapped it up very well.
Yeah, they did. They ended it really well with her trapping him in there. But I mean, I feel like with a lot of movies, they do the same thing of you know, we put him in, we trapped him, we set the house on fire. There's no way he can escape, but we don't actually see him die. So
You get a lot of flexibility.
yeah, and that's the
I'm not
thing is
showing
it's
the
like
body.
yeah, that's the thing is you never, it's like horror movies, they don't ever like to like necessarily be like, wow, this building burned down, let us pull this body from the wreckage. You know what I mean? Like they just won't do it in horror movies. So it's like I love the horror genre, but I feel like that's something that I see that they do a lot is they won't just wrap it up sometimes.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, they create an ending where you're like, oh my god, that was great. The killer's gone. The killer has no head. It's great. I mean,
Yeah.
Halloween 2, going back all like what 30 something years ago, Halloween 2 ends with Dr. Loomis and Michael Myers burning alive. Like in a fiery explosion in a hospital. But for whatever reason, Halloween 4 opens with like both of them just having some mild scars.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing is it's like why does stuff like this happen? You know, it's you guys could just end it, but you don't want to.
Yeah. Well, there's too much money to be made.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's my thing too. Is I love the ending, but the problem is we know how this plays out, and so now Halloween 2 has this problem of, well, how do we satisfy anyone to where, you know, people got this great ending where Michael was left burning alive. The 3 generations of Strodes are together. Like how do you make up a new sequel to follow all that?
Yeah, I don't know where they would go.
Not to mention, I feel like Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't know if this is just like what I kind of assume or not, but I'm thinking she doesn't want to do the Halloween movies anymore. Am I correct on that, Kale, or has she said like this is her last one?
Doing her whole adult life.
Well,
I mean, she's done 3 of them, right?
No, 5.
She's done 5, really? I thought she'd only done 3. I thought. Or that's right. I'm sorry. No, I was thinking she did Halloween H20 in this one, but I guess she did Halloween H20 and then a couple more sequels.
She did, yeah. She did the first sequel, and then she was in Resurrection for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't know. She hasn't said that this was her last one. I think what's happened is, I think what's going to happen is she will come back, and either they'll retire her, or she'll become kind of what like Dr. Loomis was for 4, 5, and 6, if that makes any sense. Like the one remaining character from the original series that's there to basically surrogate, you know, the audience, and, you know, also be there for the main actors or the main characters like Andy, or not Andy, Allison and Mary, or is it Mary Strode? Mary?
Yeah,
or Karen. That's what it was, Karen.
Karen, there you go.
She'll be there to kind of be the Dr. Loomis for Karen and Allison. So I think that's what her role will be, and then whatever happens in 2 and maybe even 3, that's where things will probably end.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I just kind of, I'm not gonna lie, like that is something I feel like I always miss in horror movies, is they never just show like a final death. But I get it. I mean, they're trying to make a sequel. They're trying to make, you know, more money from.
My opinion, I think they should leave it alone. Like, I think it ended on a good note.
Yeah,
They shouldn't stretch it out. But I agree. I mean, I think they probably will do it just for the money's sake.
Yeah. No, for sure, for sure.
I agree. I wish they would, because, or better yet, I wish they would have ended it this way and then tell a different story. Like, not like, let's be done with Michael Myers. Let's tell some different stories, much like they did with Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Yeah.
I wish they would do that, but I know they're not going to do it.
No, not after what happened last time.
Yeah.
No, I really wish that they would just do. I really wish that they would just make a horror anthology series. Like, I miss movies like like the Creep Show movies or like the Tales from the Dark Side movies. I wish that they would come up with something like that. And I feel like now's a good time to do it because we have shows like Black Mirror and that do really well that are anthology series.
Right. Well, I mean, Black Mirror runs like an hour to hour and a half each episode, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they do a really good job at doing just enough of like a storyline. I feel like if they did either a movie series or like a really good horror TV series like that, I think it would do really well. I think Halloween could be a series that they do something like that with, but I don't think they will.
Well, they've tried it once and it kind of backfired.
Yeah, everybody loved Michael. Everybody hated the season of the witch. So it's like, all right,
Yeah.
Bring back Michael.
Yeah.
But Michael's dead.
Yeah.
It can be a
body or else I'm not giving up.
Just leave it be.
Yeah. I hope they do, but I mean, David Gordon Green and Danny McBride, they're already like, they have their eyes set on a sequel. And originally they wanted to do 2 movies back to back, like a part 1 and part 2.
Right.
But I think either Blum or someone said, let's just focus on getting this one up and going, and then we'll do part 2 if the first one does well.
Right.
So there is a part 2 planned. It's just a matter of when it'll come out. So.
Right, because this one has already done really well.
Right, and on top of that, it matters if they can get Gordon Green, McBride, and Curtis back.
Right.
And Carpenter as well for the score, because that's all part of the plan.
Yes. For sure.
Mm-hmm. So I really like this movie. Do we have any more thoughts? I have a couple more questions, and then we'll move on.
Do you have any other thoughts on it, Alex?
Let's see. I think it paid proper homage to the slasher genre. I feel like that's something we didn't talk about. I haven't seen a good slasher movie in a long time.
Yeah.
And I felt like that one really hit it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of honestly the last really slasher movie I've seen in theaters.
Does Happy Death Day count?
Did not see that one.
I haven't seen that one either.
Yeah, it was like Groundhog Day, seen that before. Couldn't really force myself to go see something like that again.
I saw it and it was quite good. I'm just trying to, because there's more to Happy Death Day than, there's more going on than, the slasher element. So I'm trying to figure if that kind of counts.
Okay. So that one's a pretty good slasher one.
Yes.
Okay. I'll have to check it out at some point.
Scream 4.
I have seen Scream 4. That came out. What was that?
2011.
Either. Maybe I'm not trying hard enough.
Yeah, I was about to say, was that one? I thought it might have been 2009. I couldn't quite remember. Maybe it was 2011 though. But yeah, that one's pretty old. I feel like that one though, I don't know. Maybe it's just that I'm not a huge Emma Roberts fan. But I felt like that one kind of like lacked a little bit.
Okay.
Right. I did watch some of Scream, the TV series, and it was like that one kind of started out okay. But it's gotten kind of what's a good word? I feel like kind of like convoluted. Like
at a certain point, you gotta pick a good point to end it.
Yeah. That's the thing is, it's like with a TV series, the slasher TV series, it's not necessarily a great idea to me. You can't keep going with that too long.
Kind of run out of options.
Yeah, it's like once you get to like 4 or 5 seasons, it's like, okay, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's like a slasher movie series.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it was just can't keep going with that one too long. But no, I mean, like I said though, I mean, I definitely agree with Alex. I mean, there's just not been a ton of good slasher movies that I feel like they've released in theaters. I mean, I felt like this one was a really good kind of cat and mouse of him going after people and her kind of planning, and like once they got to Jamie Lee Curtis's house, I felt like I felt like that was like when the movie was like at its peak. I mean, because she had so much stuff like set up around the house, and
the climax of the film.
yeah, and it was cool. Her like it was bizarre. I will say the bizarre thing was her turning the lights on at the front of the house, but not inside.
Yeah.
She's
but
like,
honestly, once you see that she was trying the whole plan from the beginning, which we didn't know when she first did that, was to lure him inside.
yeah,
It kind of makes sense. You leave the lights off, make it seem like, oh, if you're
there's
gonna
no place to
you're gonna
hide.
yeah,
Yeah,
you might gotta come inside.
she's locking all those rooms down. Every room was like a trap. Every single room. That was what was great to me, was like she started like barricading off rooms, and it's like every room had a way to trap him inside and then burn it down. Like, I thought that was interesting.
It's very well thought out.
Sorry, we
Yeah.
have loud cars in our neighborhood. I don't know if you guys can hear that.
Yeah, it's fine.
But what were your other questions, Kale? So I don't want to derail you too much.
Well, where would you, now that Michael's back basically in full form, and there's going to be, basically the Halloween franchise has been rebooted. So what other slasher movie franchises would you like to see rebooted?
Which other ones would you like to see rebooted? I was about to say Freddy Krueger, but they did that and it was bad. I was like, oh no. Like,
see, I could almost get behind a Friday the 13th reboot. They did it right.
Yeah, Friday the 13th would be a fun one to
It's almost like
to reboot.
I really don't like the direction they took that series in recent years. Towards the end of like with Jason X, and like it's like, okay, you guys are trying really hard to make this like kind of modern and like scary and do something different, but it just, to me, it didn't really feel right.
Yeah. No, I mean, here's the thing is I feel like they've rebooted a lot of horror movies and they've not been what people wanted them to be. I feel like Halloween is definitely more of like the exception versus like the rule, which is like
and
the
you even
reboot's
have
not
stuff
great.
like Rob Zombie's Halloween, which was
Not good.
not too long ago, but it just really didn't hold up to the original franchise, honestly.
Yeah, it's like he didn't understand what actually made Halloween scary and
It's
what.
more of a deboot than a reboot.
Yeah. No, for sure. And it's, I don't know. I just feel like I've seen some good reboots that they've done. Like honestly, I've kind of enjoyed what they've been doing with like the Alien prequels, and like, I know that's not necessarily like a slasher, but I mean that's still a big, large thing, running around killing people.
Yeah.
But I mean, like the Freddy Krueger, like if they would do it right, I think it would be really good. The issue is like they never seem to do it correctly. I feel like the first one was really good, and after that, it's not really been great.
Well, I mean, and I kind of talked about this with other people, is that the best Nightmare on Elm Street movies are the ones directed by Wes Craven, and Wes Craven is deceased, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I mean, how do you top Wes, or even how do you come close to the quality that Craven brought to the franchise? So he did two really good movies in that franchise. The first one and New Nightmare. So
he's the only reason that is a franchise.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, he created something that was like fun and scary and like that made you think about it afterwards. I think that some of it too is like there's something about certain horror movies, like the Halloween movies, that it's like after you leave, you think about it a while, like it kind of gets stuck in your head. And I feel like they don't really make those anymore. It's like they almost just go for shock and
it's disposable shock value.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's shock and jump scares, Oh, look, we cut off someone's head. Isn't that so shocking? Oh, here's a loud noise, but it was just somebody shutting a door.
Yeah.
Making sure you're awake.
Yeah, it's like, and that's not really scary,
It's kind of cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get it. And it is a little tough for me now because we're currently still in the phase of exorcism movies, or like spiritual demon movies.
Yeah, I feel like we've just gotten kind of past zombie movies, and now we're still stuck in exorcism kind of
Paranormal
movies.
movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Which even like just today I saw a trailer for a movie called The Prodigy, which I guess is about awakening a ghost in like like a little boy or something like that. I mean, it's like one of those that's like, I know you're trying to be different, but like I'm just kind of sick of seeing movies like this, you know? We've done them so many
Yeah.
times, they're no longer that entertaining.
There's only so many ways you can remake The Exorcist.
Right, absolutely. You know?
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you have directors that like are trying to do different things. Like James Wan, like he's always like a director I'm a huge fan of because I mean, like, you know, say what you will about like the Saw movies, but I mean, they kind of started a whole new genre of like just kind of like almost
just body horror.
Yeah, body horror movies, and I really enjoyed like the Insidious movies, and I feel like the Conjuring franchise, even though that one's gotten a little derailed. It's interesting how they are making it into like this kind of whole universe of different monstrous characters. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And and for me, and then on the other side of the supernatural paranormal horror, you have Suspiria, that's all about witches, witchcraft and whatnot.
And I am excited for that remake, I will say.
I feel like I'm seeing more witchcraft movies lately.
Yeah, I feel like they're starting to want to make those. But yeah, no, I think, and I feel like that's a genre that's honestly lacking. I feel like they've not really made a ton of those, you know? So I'm really excited for them to start making some of those.
Well, I think the witchcraft genre is getting a little bit of a facelift because so many people are kind of looking back at movies like Hocus Pocus. I know it's not scary, but a lot of people
Focus is wonderful though.
but a lot of people have nostalgia for Hocus Pocus, the witches.
What is that one I'm thinking of then where they're like,
oh, you're thinking of The Craft.
The Craft, yes. God,
Yes.
why can't I remember that?
Yeah, The Craft is another one that people love. I enjoy that one too.
And also people are really excited for Suspiria. So
yeah, Tilda Swinton's gonna be great in that, I think, and so is Chloe Grace Moretz. And
Tilda Swinton as a witch, Tilda Swinton as a witch, and playing an old man is like, wow, she's really working.
Yeah, I feel like she's a great actress. I feel like we almost don't see her enough.
Well, she's a really good chameleon actress / character actress.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm really excited for that. No, I feel like if anything in the horror genre, I just kind of want to see new content. Like I'm excited for some of the remakes that they're doing, but I really would like just to see them make like some new ideas. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
something that doesn't fall so hard into one of the classic tropes.
Yeah, you know, it's like it's one of those, like I feel like me and Alex actually rewatched the Stephen King's It, the remake last night, and it was one of those that I was like, they did a good job with it because part of it was like they didn't try and make an exact replica of the original. You know, they did a lot of things different, and I felt like it worked out really well.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, it's still a reboot of something that's like 30 years old now.
Yeah, but no, and that's and I honestly I think the reason that they do that is because they know it has a built-in fan base. You know,
yeah,
younger audiences and older audiences.
Well, there's a nostalgia attached to it.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's a huge trend right now. It's just rebooting old franchises for that nostalgia.
Yeah, for sure.
Know. I know, and it makes me wonder why Sony hasn't capitalized more on that Goosebumps franchise more.
Yeah, well, I mean, they are re-releasing, or I'm not re-releasing. They just made a second one, I think.
They did, but I mean, I don't
think it's anything like the quality of the first one. Not that I'm saying like the first one was fantastic, but I mean the first one was like fun, you know.
Right. Well, yeah. I haven't seen it either. That's the oddest part is I haven't seen the new Goosebumps movie.
Right.
So I don't even know if it's any good or not, but it's not been as huge as a hit as the first one. So, and it barely got any marketing for it. So,
right.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that franchise might go dormant a little bit.
I think kid horror is almost just like an iffy genre, though.
I feel like in a way it is. Actually, you know what type of horror I actually really enjoy is PG-13 horror. Because I feel like, and I know like you're shaking your head right now, but I feel like I enjoy PG-13 horror sometimes because they can't rely on like bad language and like sex scenes and gore to like make the movie interesting and scary. So they have to focus on a plot.
That's fair, but I find
Insidious-
oftentimes they don't.
Insidious is a PG-13 horror.
The Ring.
Yeah, The Ring is a PG-13 horror.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could understand.
Yeah.
I understand what you mean.
I mean, a lot of those Japanese horror remakes are PG-13.
Yeah, and like I said, it's because they are forced to.
The Grudge.
Yeah, they're forced to not focus on, you know, like somebody like just going around like stabbing people real violently or chopping heads off. I mean, they're forced to.
Shock and awe.
Yeah, they're forced to write a you know, more in-depth story. I feel like to actually scare people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. But on the flip side, I think you can also make a bad PG-13 horror movie. So
you can. Like I said, though, I feel like you can make a bad PG-13 horror movie, but I feel like at least some of my favorite horror movies, I feel like are actually PG-13 because it's like, you know,
because they rely on character and plot, and rather than jump scares and whatnot. So
like all rated R horror movies don't rely on all of that, you know. They have both, you know.
No, and that's the thing is like they don't, but I feel like a lot of rated R horror movies like it's almost like sometimes it's like they kind of like half-ass writing a script and then
so they can jam pack it full
and then they jam pack it and they're like, and then why don't we throw in like a party scene and we'll have like a couple of like kind of like raunchy sex scenes, and then we'll have like, you know, the killer come in and like he'll like kill him and like real violent, and you know the whole time people will be like cursing and freaking out, and then we'll have somebody also like doing cocaine in one room and like everybody getting real drunk, and it's like one of those that you're like, what does this have to do with anything?
Like, showcase the fact that it's an R-rated film.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's just like all right. Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's just one of those things. It's like we actually don't need all this. You could have done this, you know.
Focus more on the plot.
Yeah, focus more on the plot. Focus more on the killer. Focus more on like the characters. But you know. But no, I mean, I definitely I enjoy. I like I said, I really enjoy horror movies when they do a good job of that.
Mm-hmm. I do too. So, do we have any more thoughts on the horror genre as of right now, or Halloween?
I think we're good. What was your next question, Kale?
I think we covered it because actually we kind of stepped into it.
Oh yeah.
With the horror genre, we stepped into it with the state of horror genre.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
We stepped into it. Yeah. Or like accidentally fell into it.
Yeah.
Whatever you prefer. All right. So if we don't have any more thoughts, we can move on to the next segment, or we can move on with the show.
All right.
All right. So Erin, starting with you, where can people find you?
If you would like, you can check out my Instagram page. It's at BEARIN465. And Alex, I think, basically is. Are you on social media anymore?
You can find my Hollow Shelf, a Facebook page, by searching my name, Alex Spearman. And other than that, you might be able to find other Hollow Shells of social media accounts. But good luck to you.
All right.
Alex is just out in the real world, so if you just want to yell his name, maybe he'll turn around and find you.
All right. Awesome. Okay. We are gonna move back. We're gonna move back more forward with the show. Thanks, Erin and Alex, and we will catch up with you guys later.
Thanks so much, Gail.
All right, so we're back. So now, so we were kind of, so I had just brought up the score. Let me ask you guys, what did you think of the score of the movie?
I thought it was really good. I'm glad that they let him do it again, and it, you
And
know,
the fact that he came
feels good.
back as well in like a role where he's like actually really invested in as well. I mean, sure, you could name him like executive producer, but the music is him, like the heart and soul of the film. And I've been streaming that on like Spotify almost daily because it's so good, and it's so well made by John Carpenter, and it's someone was comparing it to his Lost Tracks as well, and I would say it feels like it feels he's taken a lot of musically, like a lot of different cues, but still going back to the original, so that's cool.
Well, yeah, and I think, I think also he got to work with his son on this too, Cody Carpenter. And I think that kind of, got him more invested because he got to create, something, I think he got to create something within his family. And then he had Daniel Davies, I think, or something of that name, kind of help them get it all together. And the score they really made, there's tracks where it's a basic retread of the original Halloween theme, but there's new stuff in this movie that really works. The scene where Allison's being chased by the shape is really good, and then the music cue, the shape burns. It's only a minute and a half, but every time I listen to it, it just echoes like a relief.
Right. Halloween Triumphant is probably my favorite.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
All of it's pretty good. I don't remember A Weak Link. I think, and what I hope this does for Carpenter is I hope it gives him a resurgence, maybe to come back and direct another movie maybe even through Blumhouse.
Maybe. That is asking him a lot because from what I read, he just kind of, he's getting older, and it's not like he can't direct. It's just, I think he doesn't want to, wake up at like 5 a.m. or go like long nights where it's just, it's like 2 or 3 because it's just physically exhausting. So we'll see. I would certainly want him to come back at some point.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Was his last film The Ward?
Yes.
It was The Ward. I haven't seen that, but I heard good things. I've heard good things about it. And I'm certainly thinking it would be better than Ghost of Mars.
I think it was okay.
Ghost of Mars. Or The Ward.
I think now that we're in the resurgence, maybe towards the tail end of it, but we're kind of in the resurgence of this 80s nostalgia that John Carpenter definitely was influential on, especially with his music. I think it's a good opportunity for Carpenter to maybe make one last hurrah, and then get out. Because Gene, you are right. He is in. I think he is.
Yeah, he's 70.
Even though he looks like he's like 90. But
yeah, so.
But still, maybe if he wants to do it, just call up Blum and just do one last hurrah, for one good go round, and just do that.
Right. He apparently, all he does is just kind of play video games now and like watch movies in his like giant home theater. So maybe he wants to wants to just come to try something else.
Yeah. But I mean, but on the one hand, I still understand his feelings on Hollywood as well, because I mean, he's very much an old-fashioned Hollywood filmmaker. Like he loves sets, he loves, you know, he loves the old Hollywood way of making movies. He doesn't really care as much about, you know, the CGI and all that. But I don't know, just toying that around.
I think that he would make it work if he found a project that he really wanted to do.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, is there more to say on Halloween? Because there's a couple other things I wanted to ask.
Go see it if you're interested in Michael Myers.
Gene?
No, I don't have any other thoughts. I'm interested to see it in IMAX. I'm gonna try to do that this week. I think it got announced this morning.
Nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone, go see First Man really quickly, and then go see Halloween.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that A-list to its full usage. So.
Damn. Sorry. The only IMAX AMC near me is in Alpharetta, like an hour and a half away. So I had to say damn.
Yeah, make the trek, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's an Regal IMAX 30 minutes away, but it's like $20.
Oh.
About the same as I would pay for a monthly subscription of A-List.
Right.
But yeah. Well, I already saw First Man in IMAX anyway, so.
Oh, nice.
Anyway. Yeah, so just go check out Halloween. It's a fun movie. It's a fun Halloween movie. And I don't know what Amazon's doing, but Suspiria, you probably should have been capitalizing on the Halloween date instead of just releasing it in New York and LA on the 26th, but whatever. You can come out on the same day as Bohemian Rhapsody and the Nutcracker.
It's for sure going wide, right?
It's for sure
on the second, yeah.
Okay, because it's not like they didn't list it on Box Office Mojo when it's going wide, so I'm like, it better be going wide so I can see it.
It's going wide on the 2nd. It should be in New York and LA on the 26th, and then I think some theaters are doing like a special like preview on Halloween night, but there's not any around my area that's doing that, so I don't know what that's all about.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Amazon, I don't know what you're doing, but I really hope Suspiria works.
I hope so. I saw it last night. So it's certainly worth checking out. I don't want to give away too much, but I'll just say it's like fucking weird.
Awesome. All right. So my biggest question for you guys going forward is, now that we've seen Halloween and what Jason Blum's company has done with it, would you guys be open to other 80s slasher film franchises being produced in the Blumhouse model?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, just have LeBron James help them get the Friday the 13th going, and we're good.
Yeah. I personally would like to see them do Nightmare on Elm Street.
Especially since Robert Englund said that he could do one more.
Yeah, there you go. Robert
Englund saw the success of this movie and was like, money.
Yeah, right.
I can do one last hurrah. Where's Wes at? Oh, wait. No, never mind.
That's the problem with that franchise, is like I realized that Halloween did well with new writers and stuff, but like they got lucky. You know, they'd have to really try hard and really work for it to get the right writers for Nightmare.
Well, the thing with Halloween 2 is we have to remember is John Carpenter consulted on the script. Like, I mean, he didn't like write any dialogue or anything that I don't think.
No, I'm not saying that he's perfect or anything. I'm just saying that the best Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street movies were directed by, or were written by Wes. So
this is fair. And that's why I really would like I really want them to do a Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, it would have to obviously cost more than $10 million because the dream world is too fantastical, or too, like, the world of Freddy is a little too pricey for $10 million.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I think that they could make it work.
Well, I mean, yeah, look at the original. It's
the dream world for most of the stuff is just like a boiler room, so it's not that crazy.
It's not. Yeah, it wouldn't be too hard. I mean, you wouldn't have, they wouldn't be going to hell or something or whatever they do in like 3.
Well, right. Well, I mean, I'm not saying they need to spend like 40 or 50 million. I'm saying like 20 to 30. Is like what I would think a Nightmare movie would cost. Maybe that's a little too high, but I don't know. It would be crazy to me if someone made a $10 million Nightmare on Elm Street movie today. That would be just a little too. Maybe it's possible. I don't know. So with that said, who would you like to see direct a Nightmare on Elm Street movie produced by Jason Blum?
Who would I want to have that by Jason Blum? Part of me wants to say Mike Flanagan, but the fact that he's doing it's already doing like a Stephen King, essentially doing the sequel to The Shining, might not work. Andy, do you have anything?
Maybe Mike Daughtry.
DeHardy.
Yeah, DeHardy, whatever.
Like
he knows horror pretty well. Like anybody that can turn out Trick or Treat can make whatever movie he wants. In my opinion, I'll give it a shot.
I mean, if there's anyone that could probably do it, it would be James Wan.
James Wan. Yeah, he could do it.
I mean, it would be good.
It'd be ideal.
Like, I would definitely give it a shot.
Maybe Lee Winnell. Primarily because I think Lee Winnell is a really good writer director, and he would probably fit well. Well, he's been in the Blumhouse, game multiple times. So, I haven't seen the haunted house. Is it the haunting on Hill House? Is that what Mike Flanagan did recently?
Yeah, it's a new show.
I have not seen that, so I don't know. But I will say, I mean, Mike Flanagan was rumored to doing this Halloween reboot for a little while because of because Jason Blum was really happy with Ouija 2.
Oh, better than the first Ouija.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Jason Blum was really happy.
So
thankfully, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know any others. I mean, David F. Sandberg, but he's doing Shazam movies.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, Frank Darabont. But then again, I would like to see Frank Darabont just do anything.
How about James Cameron?
James Cameron.
Anything to get him off of those Avatar movies.
He's not. He'll never get off those Avatar films.
It's so dumb.
According to our friend T-Dub on Twitter.
Yeah.
Those Avatar sequels are going to be the highest grossing movies ever made. And
do they really believe that? Every year that movie doesn't come, that sequel doesn't come out, it loses $100 million.
Exactly.
We'll see.
No, seriously, there's no way that any of those movies, crack $1 billion.
I really don't see it replicating the success of the last one. I mean, I think it would be lucky to get like 500 million.
Like domestically, like the first sequel will probably get like 200 million domestically.
Right. And
like
yeah. and the fact that 3D isn't a novel, I wouldn't say not a novelty, but it isn't as it's this like cultural event people have to check out for themselves is certainly not helping that movie at all.
For how much money that first one made, it is absolutely even more astonishing of how little of a cultural impact that movie has left.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Titanic left a bigger impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was memorable. But yeah, I don't see it. Back to the other question. I'm going to throw out a controversial choice. Adam Wingard.
Why is that controversial?
Oh, just his like some people don't like Blair Witch. His last 3 films.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
I think that'd be a good choice.
Yeah.
That's fair, but okay. And what would you guys want to see from a Friday the 13th? I'm not gonna ask for every horror franchise, just these two, because I know these are like the Jason, the Freddy, and the Michaels are popular.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I missed that.
What would you guys like to see do a Friday the 13th Jason Blum produced movie?
That'd be awesome. Yeah, that would.
Well, what would you like? Who would you like to direct it?
With these ones, basically, it's more about the writing than the directing.
Yeah.
Like it's about what's happening, because like these guys all need to hit certain like points. Like for Jason, for a Friday the 13th movie, you need, the camp. You need a camp, woods in the lake and everything. You need hot teenagers having sex and then them getting slaughtered. That's about it. It doesn't matter who's really directing it. It matters what.
How it's new and how it will
like
be
the 2009 remake of Friday the 13th is great.
It's good.
I enjoyed that enough.
That hit that franchise on the head. It knew exactly what it was.
It's entertaining. It's entertaining, but I mean, I'm the guy that doesn't really like any of the Friday the 13th movies. Maybe Part 6. But yeah,
I don't know how you would even restart that franchise again. I mean, for me personally, it goes back to the writing where it feels. I don't know where else to go with that. I mean, I certainly can't think of anything.
Just get Shane Black and Fred Decker to do it, and let them go crazy. Just let them just let them redo the Predator, but with Jason. But actually be good. Just make it a full-on comedy. I think I just killed Andy.
That's just whatever.
But yeah. All right. So what else is there to say about this new development in the Halloween world? Or Halloween franchise?
I love Michael Myers, and that's all that needs to be said.
Gene?
Sorry, I missed that last part that cut off for me.
I said that I love Michael Myers, and that's all that needs to be said.
Oh, anything else? No, I don't think so.
All right. All right. Well, this one was a good soft reboot. They did some Force Awakens things, and then they did some Jurassic World things. But yeah, it was a fun movie. It'll be pretty successful for a little while because Halloween's still in full swing, and it's hard to see till we get to Fantastic Beasts anything really being huge.
Mm-hmm.
Until we get to like Fantastic Beasts and Creed 2 and and then we get December.
Yeah. I'm interested in how Creed 2 will be because the marketing hasn't been too
it's like they're not even trying.
Yeah. And the first one did really well, so I don't get it. I certainly don't.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. You guys are talking about Fantastic Beasts, right?
No, I'm talking about Creed 2.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, but like I said, I don't really care for, well, I care for, I don't care about the marketing. I just want to see the movie because I know in my mind, I want to see a Creed 2 and I want to see what they do with it going forward. Because now they've got me hooked after the first movie.
Mhm.
What can you do without Coogler?
Mr. T's son.
Womp.
Clubber Lang's son.
Womp, womp, womp. Chubber Lang or Clobber Lang.
Clubber Lang, yeah.
Clubber Lang's son. Oh no. Not Clubber Lang's son. Is this what the Creed franchise is gonna be? Just Adonis is gonna just fight a bunch of is he just gonna fight a bunch of people's sons? Is he gonna fight the guy from Rocky V's son?
No.
He's gonna fight him in the streets.
No, he's not gonna fight any sons after this.
Oh boy. Anywho, so with that, Andy, where can the good people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at the Talking Can, spouting off random tweets just to to prove that I'm still alive and yeah, have some fun.
Gene, where can people find you? Just any people.
Sure. You can find me on G9892 on Twitter and Instagram.
All right. And you can, and everyone, good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. Anyone can find me on Twitter at MovieKale. And you can also follow the show at the Youth Critic for more updates. We are coming out with more Halloween retrospectives. It's just we're kind of slow because we're just kind of busy here at the Youth Critic KHC headquarters. Yeah, the headquarters. That's my room. Or we're just kind of busy. But they are coming. They're coming out. There might be one that comes out after Halloween, but they're coming. Other than that, you can just follow the channel that distributes this podcast at KHD Network. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. I don't really care about the new Gerard Butler submarine movie. So yeah. All right, everyone. We will see you all next. We'll see you guys pretty soon. We'll find something to review.
Yeah.
He is a killer, but he will be killed tonight. Happy Halloween, Michael.